joining today's VOLTHA TFT call. This is January 23rd. And a reminder to everyone, we are recording this session so that it can be posted later to the VOLTHA channel. All right, so today we wanted to talk about the kickoff really for 1.3 Sprint 1. So I did put that to in progress. And if I scroll up to the top here, we can see it. Okay, so we've got Sprint 1, we've got one user story in there related to Kubernetes. We've got a few other items. And I think I'll wait until Sean joins. I believe there may be a path forward for, they have for reassignment of anything related to the Redfish work that was underway, but I want to wait till he's on to confirm that, unless anyone on the call happens to know an update there. Anyone
Julie, are you showing your screen? I'm not seeing it.
It told me I was. Let me try again. It tells me I am.
I see it.
Can it? Okay.
Oh, then maybe it's my environment then.
Okay. Thank you for checking, though. Okay. So I think, like I said, we'll wait till Sean Ying is on to talk about that item. And then if we go back and look at the new user stories that have been entered since the last time I met with you, at least, we've got quite a few to go over. And I believe there's one that likely we need to talk about. I can't see. I need to move that from my window. There we go. This one, I believe, should be closed, but I wanted to confirm with folks on the call before doing so. So this one was an issue that was asked for some retesting to see if it still occurred with 1.2. This was with the EdgeCore OLT reactivation fails after reboot via CLI. And there was some retesting done, and it did show it successfully reactivated after reboot. And then, Kim, I see that you confirmed that as well. So I believe this should be closed. And because the reporter had reported it as fixed as well, or as working successfully as well. Any comments on this item?
Hey, this is Nathan. Yeah, that's okay with me to close it.
Great. Okay, thank you. Let me add a comment first. All right. Thank you for that, and thanks to all who did the retesting. Okay, and then now we go into a number of new issues that have come in. And then the first one, let me go to a different view that may be easier to see. Okay, so this one is one of the new stories related to the modifications for OpenOMCI implementation. And this is related to OMCI autonomous messages, ABCs, alarms, test results, and so forth. And so this is related to defining the appropriate OMCI message types for frame decoding. And then also unit tests need to be augmented as well. So that one he has assigned to himself, so that's a new issue. And I did mention just before we started the formal part of the meeting that Chip is out of the office this week. So if there are questions, they may need to be held until he's back next week. So I'm suspecting that this one, since it's in progress, probably would go in Sprint 1, but I do want to confirm that with him before I move them into the sprint. But I suspect the ones that are shown as assigned to him and in progress likely would be slated for Sprint 1. Questions on this before we move on? Okay, and then the next one is related to checking in the updates for OMCI ME frame and OMCC OMCI CC for the AdTran ONU adapter. And this was talked about, I think, during the lockdown a bit. And so this one again is assigned to Chip and marked as in progress. So I'm anticipating that will go in sprint 1. And he did add, if I can get the screen to scroll properly, sorry about that. Okay, so he has added a significant amount of text in here, so please review that and see if you do have any questions for him related to this. So this does talk about his follow-up plan, for example, for this. Questions from the group that we can discuss while Chip is gone, or if not, I'll move on. Okay, I will go ahead and move on. And then the next one, this one was from David. And this is the ability to manually publish containers to Docker Hub. And David, are you on today?
I am. It'll be in the next sprint as soon as it's depending on another one right now and blocked, I think, by 6.12.
Yes,
just
I see that.
Image rename. And once that image rename comes, I'll rebase this one and push it.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
David, this is Girish here.
Yes.
I have been trying to bring up the VOLTHA ensemble with your latest changes. So it seems I have issues with bringing up the VOLTHA ensemble with the Docker Compose system test.yaml. Do you have an updated README on how to bring up the VOLTHA ensemble?
There should be no changes right now. There was immediately after the change, the initial naming change, the Docker Compose DocuTest did not come up. That was fixed over the weekend. So it should be coming up. If it's not, direct message me, and
okay,
when I'm
sure.
on a keyboard, and we'll figure it out what's going on. Make sure you have the latest master too.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Yep.
Okay. Then the next item is again from David, and this is full 601, not checking for key and address list before accessing it.
That should be marked done already, I believe.
Ah, okay. So let me open that one up. Yes, it does show it was merged, so I will change this to done. Thank you. Okay, then the next one is full 602. When deploying, don't resolve images against repo by default.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is why 612 came about, actually. Let's abandon this one. This was more I'll leave it open and I'll close it later, but it'll be in sprint 1.
Okay, thank you. So I will move on from that one for now. And then we get to some more of the OMCI related ones. And so the first one on this batch is VOL 604, OMCI entity class initializes operation sets as dictionaries and not sets. And so he has had a brief description of that in here. And again, Chip is not on today, but just making sure everyone's aware of these. And it is in Garrett for review. And so you can go take a look at that, please, if you would, anyone who's impacted or working on the OMCI related stories. Okay, and so then again, I'll check, this shows as to do, so I don't know if that one would be going into sprint 1 or a later sprint. So we'll check with Chip on his return for that. Okay, then the next, whoops, let me scroll down. 605 is the next new one, and this is looking at the existing ME definitions and comparing attributes, operations, and verifying them against the Open OMCI v3.0 spec from AT&T. So this one is assigned to Chip for that. I am expecting this will go in Sprint 1, but I'll again confirm with him when he is back in the office. Questions on this item? Okay. Then the next one is 606, again, OpenOMCI table operations support. So this is for designing and implementing table operations and column data capabilities for MEs that define attributes that are provided through table access. I give some examples there of related MEs.
Julie, this is Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Sorry I'm late.
Thanks for joining. We're going over the new issues at the moment.
Okay.
And so we do have a significant number of OMCI and OpenOMCI related news stories that are in here. Okay, and then the next one, 607. This one is for OpenOMCI again, OMCI CC and ME frame integration. This one is currently unassigned, and it would be post Sprint 1 because it's going to be collecting feedback from Sprint 1 for comments, suggestions, improvements, and so forth. And then looking at the code at that time, also for unit test coverage. So that one will be in a later sprint. 608 is MIB database framework proposal, and so this one is again unassigned, and this would be again some enhancements or new proposals related to how to do the initial external MIB database for OpenOMCI MEs. So I think this is actually a new one here. I don't think we've talked about it in great detail during the lockdown, just the need for this to happen. And so this would be having, again, he's soliciting sample code and diagrams for this. So, so Sean, while I was gone on Thursday, I don't think we probably went over this, but do we have folks lined up for kind of heading up the OpenOMCI work officially, or not yet?
No, I think is Tim on this here? So I think Chip is asking the members here to look into some of the stuff he put together. So
yes,
I think that's the only homework or action item.
Okay. All right. Then let's go ahead and move on. So this one was the MIB database framework proposal. And then the following one, 609, is implementing the MIB database and then the initial MIB sync task. And so this one is dependent on those proposals that would be coming in before and getting agreement on a path forward. And it outlines in the story the initial tasks that should be supported as well for onboarding a new ONU in the database. Okay, and then 610 is another one for a proposal, a user story for a proposal for OMCI state machine runner. And this is for a general purpose state machine and task runner that can be implemented to simplify OpenOMCI tasks such as MIB sync, alarm sync, PM collection, ONU heartbeat, etc. And again, this one is unassigned. And so that will be looking for folks to come forward from the community with proposals. And I think our last new one for today, I'll do a refresh afterwards to make sure, is VOL 612. And this is one from David. And I think we briefly referred to this one a few minutes ago. So this is rename local images without the VOLTA/prefix.
Basically, what happens with Docker Swarm is if you named an image VOLTHA/name, when you do a deploy stack, it will automatically pull from Docker Hub that image, which means if you're doing local development, you want to use a local image, that is not the behavior you want. Okay. So this is about following kind of what I'll call a best practices around Docker container naming, where the name of the image would be, in our case, VOLTHA-name, and some of that's needed for name conflict resolution. Then there'll be environment variables that you can set for repository host and repository, so if you want to actually use remote images, you can. But this should allow local images to be used unless you intentionally want to use remote images. And also will then enable the ability to run VOLTHA without actually having to do the full build. You can effectively just get the Docker Compose files or the Docker Stack files and run it that way and pull all the images down. So once this one's complete, the push one will follow. We'll push up containers to Docker Hub, and hopefully at some point we'll get those as part of the nightly build, so we'll have always fresh images up at Docker Hub.
Okay, and I do see that this is in Garrett for review as well. And so this one likely we need to take in Sprint 1, correct?
Yes. We'll resolve any issues that the gentleman earlier talked about, see if he's having those.
Okay.
This is already Kim. I think Kim gave it a +1, and we'll make sure everything works and hopefully get another +1. And then I'll nag Ken to get it merged.
So is this only affecting the 1.3, or it will backtrack?
It'll be just on the master. Right now, it's just on the master.
Okay. So if people pull the 1.2, would this be in place?
No.
No.
It's all before all this stuff. So it's all the because this is essentially all this stuff for preparing for. There's Kubernetes stuff kind of going in there, and the Swarm. I think this is just what these tasks David is working on, is sorting out some things that were kind of had some concept work, related with naming and ease of Swarm deployment. So, but none of that stuff was marked to have into 1.2.
Yeah, a lot of this was work that I put in the one big patch a while ago, which did a build without a VM. And so I've just been putting it in piecemeal and working through it as opposed to one big patch. So it's a little easier to digest. So at some level, this is prep work for Kubernetes. At some level, this is prep work to enable a build without a VM, so you can build it on your Mac, for instance.
Sean, did you have other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Anyone else before we move on?
So a very, very stupid question. Is 1.2 officially released?
Sorry, I was muted. It was tagged last at the last talk
Thursday.
we had about it. Yeah, I don't know if it was exactly on Thursday. It may be a little bit before, but yeah, there is a that branch has been out there for a while for 1.2, and we had tagged it because we were just waiting for the the lockdown ONOS app to get resolved, and so that's what was holding it. So it's kind of there. There was there's no fanfare announcement, I think, anywhere. So, but I would say it's been released because it has been, what was targeted for 1.2 has been tagged there. So if there's anything to go into a 1.2.1, then that would be we'd have to discuss that and mark anything that goes into there. But I haven't heard that there's anybody wants anything in the 1.2. But we can effectively consider that we've hit the 1.2 release milestone. 1.2.0 tag is out there.
I hate, sorry, Julie, I'll let you, why don't you, I don't want to cut your flow here, so what?
Okay. The next question I had actually was for you, Sean, because I think there was some discussion over email related to reassigning the user stories that had been in progress that were being worked by CalSoft and finding a new owner for them. It sounded to me over email that there may be someone willing to take this up, but I didn't know if we had a name to assign them to yet.
I have not getting any update from
Okay.
Larry or Jeff. So Kim, do you get any update response from them?
No, I was just gonna mention that from that last email that I forwarded to you was the last I had heard, and I hadn't got it acknowledged on anything, so I don't know, we may need to have a phone call to check on status with that.
Okay, so Sean, if we don't get a new assignee, then I'm going to move these out of Sprint 1 until we find someone who can pick them up.
Okay.
So I'll leave them there today, but I think we'll be looking for finding a new owner for new assignee for them pretty quickly. Otherwise, I'm going to move them into the backlog.
Kim, is your plan to have the resource working with you, or they worked independently? Sorry.
Yeah, they should be working. We should be working together on there to continue the guidance. And I'm also looking at to see what extent and level of effort there are to complete these things, if there needs to be more definition or whatever. So, but yeah, I would just kind of consider it a sub brigade that's kind of working in this area, but it does have its some of this stuff does tie into the platform that EdgeCore provides. So we're going to have to at least have a resource from that area that can work on that part. And so far the contact hasn't worked well, so I'll see if I can get another ping and follow up, see what the state is.
Okay, thank you. And then there's actually one more, and it wasn't in the backlog, so it was already here. So sorry I missed that in our earlier discussion. We have another new one, VOL 615. And so this one was opened as a defect. And this is remove hard-coded DHCP flows. EdgeCore adapter is hard-coded to push DHCP trap to host rules irrespective of ONOS configuration. Adapter should only push the DHCP flow when instructed by ONOS. And there is a fix over in Garrett for review. It looks like that.
Yeah,
and
I think this one should be in progress anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If there's something in Garrett, it probably should be in progress.
Yeah, it was. I think this one is going to be approved in. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. So then the rest of the items I think are in progress right now. For this, we've got the one Kubernetes story. We'll be looking to see if there are others that can be brought in for Sprint 1 as well. I'm expecting we'll have more, but let me go to the backlog right now. And then one more cleanup item to talk about is the release notes for 1.2. Let me scroll down there. So we do still have, I believe, a handful that are not not in the done state. And so once those are complete, then we can close this out, but we are still looking for a few sections to be updated for the release notes for 1.2.
I'm so ashamed.
So
I think the one against Sergio is already completed. I think he already put a note in the release notes. He just didn't go and change the Jira status.
So let me go check that one offline, and then that may be able to be closed or shown as done. Thank you for that. So I'll check that after the call. Okay.
I'm writing down my to-do list.
Julie?
Yes.
Can you move all 182 to the sprint? It's actually under review right now.
That's the next thing I was going to do was see if there are ones that we need to move up. So that one's under review.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so just double check. So this is the for the Broadcom ONU, right?
I'm doing it for the TNW, but it should be for the Broadcom. I mean, for both Broadcom and TNW.
Will Alpha work also?
I'm not sure about Alpha.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Now let me go back to the backlog again. Okay, so the release notes, that one we're hoping will close out soon. We have a number of other items here that had been in plan for 1.2, for example, and then were moved to the backlog. And so there may be others on the ONU adapter side, hopefully that can be pulled in. I had a question. Do we know the current state for VOL 493? Let's see, it's not blocked by any. Okay. So this one has been out there for a while. I don't know if path forward was ever identified over VOLTA Discuss. I don't believe it was. Is there anyone on the call who has any background on this particular item?
Yes. So there is some configuration in ONOS with respect to each device. So we cannot associate a configuration with that device unless we know the logical device ID in advance. So I think that's what this issue is talking about.
And do you know how we generate a path forward with this one? Or I guess, Sean, also, I guess the question is, should this go in 1.3?
I think we need to resolve this, right? So
yeah, it's been out there for a while.
It's been out there, and there was discussion on the VOLTA Discuss regarding to. I think we, as a community, we. I think each different company probably have different, or at least, or OLT. Each different OLT probably have different approach to how to address this. But I think if the OLT itself doesn't address, then we need to have a common support. They, of course, I'm going to point to you. So this is regarding to the cannot be unique identifier of the PDID, right? Or it will be overlapped.
Who are you pointing at?
The PDID generation is not predictable.
I don't have visibility to the URL Jira right now, so.
So I think Sean's on the right track for this. It's really to Okay, so you can't predict which vCore will be used when an OLT is connected. So today you have to configure an index number. It looks like in ONOS is a configuration for the first OLT. And then the problem is when the second device comes up, if it comes up under vCore 2 or 3, then it may try to read a configuration that was already configured for the info for the first OLT.
Yeah, okay, I kind of remember this issue now.
David, this is the one that where you recommended to use the MAC address as the last 48 bits.
And then I think there's also another proposal using maybe the TID, right?
I know we're using the MAC address of the NNI for the OLT.
But what is the configuration? I mean, I remember it was only the driver that was associated with the particular device. And I guess Jono has submitted a patch where the driver is automatically chosen for the device based on, I think, the vendor ID or something. So I don't know if this makes sense anymore. So what is the configuration that we are actually looking for here?
The configuration is we basically have to have a data record. We have to have an index, a unique index that for a device into that.
On the owner side, right? On the owner
side. Yes. And so that's what we're trying to do, is so that you can essentially pre-populate a data structure in ONOS indexed by a unique identifier for device. So when the device comes online, you can find its record. So you're looking for a predictable identifier. I don't know what Jono's change was, so I don't know what effect that has on it.
Sorry, I have a cold now. If we have a northbound provisioning system coming into the, if we can pre-provision that, then the northbound system can, what's that word? Can force what that ID will be, and would, and then the northbound system will make sure to maintain the uniqueness of the ID, right? But if
I'm not sure, the device has to have the unique ID, or that's not quite true. When it's registered with VOLTHA, it has to have an ID that is unique that gets to ONOS.
Mm-hmm. So the ID is given to ONOS from the device itself, from VOLTHA, or
right now the ID that VOLTHA uses is essentially the incremental index on the core, which is not predictable.
Correct.
Because as it's talked about in there. So I think Ken mentioned we talked about using the MAC address of the device so that it's predictable as the lower 48 bits or something. Use, use the vCore index as the upper, whatever, 8 bits or whatever it is.
That's
and thus the requirement that VOLTHA has, which is that index, so we can map quickly to which core is being supported by which one is supported, as well as we can then modify the ONOS apps to index off the lower 48 bits for the unique ID. So that works, as I recall. I don't know why we wouldn't do that if that does work.
The only issue, right, potentially, of course, we can utilize if there's a description field. Otherwise, I mean, if we want to expose that index to operation, that can be a very confusing information, right?
Which index?
the PD ID. If the operation go to the owners, and all they see is all those MAC address, and there's no association to whatever they know on their work order.
I don't know what they have on their work order, right? The only thing that ever uniquely identifies a device is the serial number or a MAC or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere I would think in the operational system you're going to be able to map to something which represents a physical device
Mm-hmm.
to a customer record.
Oh, not only to a customer record, right, or inventory system.
Or an inventory system, yes.
Right. So like, okay, so right now, Philip, you guys using the, so how did you guys, is it on adapters? Once the OOT comes up, the adapter is aware about the OOT, and then the MAC address will pass on from the device to the VOLTA. And
that's what we do. I mean, that's what we do for now. It can be changed to whatever we want to conform to, but we went ahead and implemented that. It was easy.
Is there a common interface for reporting that through the adapter?
There's an API, I believe, in the adapter agent where you can set that ID. And the default will just be an incremental number. Otherwise, you can just set a MAC address.
Yeah, I believe ours shows up all the way through VOLTHA, all the way into ONOS with the reported information, I believe.
Okay, so Philip, do me a favor. Can you have a very short description regarding to how you guys doing?
Okay.
I need a proposal here. So I need a proposal.
I will have to verify with Chip to get his, because he implemented it, but I think he's just reading back the NNI, the first NNI port's MAC address. I'm not sure why he chose that over the management port, but or whatever, because you only need one for physical device, I assume. So, yeah, but I can check.
And then I think that the IETF conversion was mentioned here, right? So.
Yes, that was from some discussion earlier last year.
Right. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, Julie, what do you think?
Yes.
We can request for proposal from the adapter, vendors who create the adapters. And then maybe, I mean, if there's any way we can, so we can find a common way. On the edge core side, how the edge core adapter working today? Do we know?
I thought they just put all zeros, 1 in there. Does anyone know?
There's the one, but then still the old way, right?
Rich is just using the index, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an incremental index, yeah.
So the incremental index definitely will create some duplication there, right? So I think that methodology is not a right way to do.
Right. Yeah, I think there needs to be basically a codified way to do that, rather than giving the adapter the choice of what to put in there. It ought to maybe mandate that it provides a kind of a globally unique ID that can come up.
Well, I think that
the key being that it's predictable, though, right?
Yeah.
It can't.
Right. Yeah.
It can't be random.
Right.
Yeah, but
associated
the MAC
with
address
the
would be
equipment.
predictable. The
Yeah,
MAC
a
address
MAC
seems like
address.
it seems like a solid solution, and it does, But
Yeah.
we probably should look into this IETF convention
Yep.
that we mentioned, because I'm not familiar off the top of my head with that.
Right, and one of the rationales was to take into consideration the complexity for device replacement with whatever's implemented here.
Yeah,
So,
which would of course change.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the IETF convention would not change somehow.
So, Sean, from your viewpoint, so we know that this is a high priority defect that was raised.
Mhm.
So we had moved it to 1.3 at one point. Do you think this is where it belongs?
Yep.
Okay, so I will leave it there.
I think, as far as I know, many service providers are probably going to involve more than one device now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let's see if some proposals can be generated, and then we can, if needed, set up a dedicated session or carve out maybe a half hour from one of our meetings to try and review those. Okay, and then next in the backlog we have a batch of ONU related items and actually at the EdgeCore related items as well that were slated for 1.3 or else moved to 1.3. So are there any of these that need to be bumped up into the initial sprint, or is that still too early to tell? So we have our batch of the highest priority ones all at the front here. So we've got alarms, and then if I skip over to the next ONU one, we've got operational parameters and retrieving provision parameters as well, and so forth.
Right, and I think there's two parts of those. One is ensuring there's a common interface in VOLTHA, in the adapter interface to present those, and then the other part is and these are flagged against maybe EdgeCore, in some of those cases.
Okay.
But to make sure that all adapters can report through this stuff through common VOLTHA interface, and then then make sure that the equipment actually does it. For example, Vol 189 retrieve the provision parameters from the OLT. One aspect of that is making sure the OLT itself, the EdgeCore itself, can get these things out of the box, and then the other part of it is making sure there's a common interface, north of the adapter that can, that consumes that. So, and I'm not sure if there is if every adapter is presenting in the same way, because anything north of VOLTHA then is going to have to consume that. So I think some of these might be actually these one-liner stories here might be actually involve quite a bit, and not necessarily just pertaining to EdgeCore.
I think so, because right now, like I said, these are structured for, on the OLT side, these are structured for EdgeCore, for the EdgeCore adapter. And
right.
then
and
also
they were just pulled from the in that POC 3 test strategy document. There was just a one-liner on that said to do it, but that has to be further broken down.
Right, and that's kind of noted here also. So Sean pointing this out for the service providers, that this would kind of, I think, go back to that prioritization of which are the critical ones to address first, so we could tackle it in smaller chunks. Right, and actually this particular one we have up, we had some questions. This was shown as a validation story, and we're not sure that's really the right categorization. So I think we're going to run into this with a lot of the older issues that they perhaps need a bit of a refresh on on how they're positioned. We've got about 10 minutes left. So Sean, I think we need to have a look at these in terms of some prioritization of smaller portions of it.
Yep.
And then likely we need to break either some of them, like this one, might need to be repositioned as an epic with a bunch of related user stories below it that are smaller pieces that could be done in individual sprints.
Okay.
And then if I scroll down a little bit, then let's jump past, let's see, those are some of the older ones. So I would like feedback from the community on these issues that have been here for a while. If there are ones that should be candidates for 1.3, ones that people have already been kind of working on in the background, please let me know so we can pull things as appropriate as well. Okay. Let me see who we've got on the call right now. So I wanted to see, we could take a look at some of the, I see Sergio's on, some of the Kubernetes stories to see if there are other ones that need to be brought into Sprint 1 or if it's still too early for that work. Right now, I believe the only, we have one item.
Yeah, those ones are a little bit too early to bring up.
Okay.
We just want to be before we can move to the other ones.
Okay, so you'll be pulling things in as appropriate then in the background?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, then I don't need to worry about it. Thank you.
No.
I like that. Okay, then I think we've gone over the new issues. We've kind of taken a look at what's there today. We have, see if we can tackle getting discussion kicked off again on VOLTHA 493 and see if we can get a path forward so that we can include this particular item in 1.3. So that's been a challenge for us with the previous releases. Let's give it another attempt here. And Sean, did you have any other specific items that you needed to talk about today?
Other than the potential Q2 meeting.
Okay.
And Julie, I need to work. We need to put the. Wait, I'm losing my voice. We need to put the recording onto the playlist.
Yes, if they are ready, I can assist with that.
Yeah.
From the lockdown, I'm assuming you're talking about.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So if those are ready, I can help with that.
Right. So the Q2 meeting I mentioned, I was still accepting for proposal. So Philip, is that Atran has some interest about the Q2 meeting?
We talked about internally, and we are happy to host it for Q2. If you want that as an option, I know you mentioned Dallas, which works well too. So we would like to host for Q2, but we would also be happy to host for Q3 or Q4, or in the future sometime.
Right. I think some people bring up maybe we can do carrier to vendor and carrier vendor or something like that alternative. But so the tentative date is still the April, the week of the April 9th. I'm thinking maybe if that it's going to happen, AT&T will be starting in the afternoon of the April 10th and whole day of the April 11th and the morning of the April 12th as needed. So that is the my tentative plan for AT&T proposal. Right now, there is a potential because we're originally we tried to attach with the FSAM meeting. The budget for FSAM meeting may be is overblown a little bit. So I'm more than happy to, if AdTrans's willing to host. I'll work with AdTrans a little bit more on that one, and see whether we can have a solid proposal so we can narrow down the dates so people can start making the travel arrangement. If any other company has the interest, please send me an email. Other than that, I don't have any plan at this point.
Okay, then let me go to, let's see, some of our discussion from last Tuesday. So I'll get a recap from Sean later on what happened on Thursday's call. So thanks everyone for meeting while I was away. And then Sean, we had been talking about a possible topic for this Thursday's deep dive discussion. Mm-hmm. Do we have anything on deck for that? Or is that an open slot right now?
That's an open slot right now.
Okay. So I would suggest, I think we've done this before, but one, if we don't have any other items related to kind of architecture for Sprint 1 that need to be brought up, if there's anything on the Kubernetes side that you want to address in a deep dive, we could do that. If it's too early from the folks doing the development, that's fine also. We could look at trying to carve out some time for that discussion on 493, see if we can hammer it out during Thursday's call. That would be one option as well. Any preference from the group? I'm hearing nothing.
let's figure out 493.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems to be a critical one.
Okay, so we'll do that. So this Thursday's call will focus on 493. So I'll ask the technical SMEs to do their homework in advance and then see if we can come with some sort of resolution and path forward, hopefully this week then. So I'll put that as the agenda for Thursday. And then next week would be kind of our usual Scrum meeting call, and then next Thursday we'd be looking at OpenOMCI again and the framework and kind of updates on what's happened over the last couple of weeks. Like you saw, we do have a bunch of the stories in there now from Chip, so we've got some framework in Jira as well to help scope out the work. So please take a look at that as time permits for you as well, and then next week we'll be focusing, I think, next Thursday on OpenOMCI, as long as nothing preempts it if a more critical topic comes up. I think that's it for today. Any last items before I go ahead and stop the recording and drop the bridge? Okay, so thanks everyone. I will go ahead and stop the recording and talk to you on Thursday. Thanks.